Zach, AJ, let's start with Kentucky, where Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is going to face some serious competition in his bid for re-election next year. McConnell will take on Tea Party businessman Matt Bevin in the GOP primary, and if he wins there, McConnell will also face competition from the left from Kentucky Secretary of State Allison Grimes.
I mean, I think it's at this stage in the game, it's very early to make predictions, but I think this is easily the most interesting Senate race of 2014. I mean, Mitch McConnell is in many ways the face of the establishment GOP in Washington, but he's also been a very, very conservative senator and been quite effective at thwarting President Obama's agenda. So for conservatives in Kentucky, it's not at all obvious that he's a terrible choice for re-election, but not at all obvious. You know, if you have an anti-establishment bent to your political predilections, it's not obvious that he's your guy either. He's got a lot of money and he's got a lot of deep connections because he's been in the Senate for years. And Allison Grimes, although she's a relative newcomer, she seems like a very charismatic candidate. Her campaign doesn't seem like it's gotten off to the best start so far. But I do think it's going to be an interesting play for the the way sort of non-urban sort of traditional politics plays out in the United States in 2014.
So will 2014 be the year of the Rubio rebound, Zach? I mean, I don't know, but perhaps you might know better than I do.
I think it's very hard to say. I mean, any of these sort of prediction postures that I could strike could be proven wrong by a change of staffer or something in any given week. But I think Marco Rubio had one of the absolute worst years for anybody in Washington. The only person I can think of who had a worse year would be President Obama.
Somebody on his staff apparently gave him some bad advice, and you had somebody that overestimated just how much clout they would have with the Tea Party base. You had somebody that was on the cover of Time magazine as the savior of the Republicans, and 2 months later, only about 1 in 5 conservatives had him at the top of their list. This was a huge plummet and a huge fall from grace. Can he rebound? Absolutely. Rubio still has a tremendous record, tremendous amount of popularity when you put aside the amnesty issue and that ill-fated attempt. So yes, especially if the amnesty ends up dying, which it very much may end up happening, because I've polled some conservatives on this, and their view is all's well that ends well. Look, if the amnesty doesn't end up happening, we can forgive and forget. And Rubio still has a stellar track record on other issues and is very, very likable. So I do see him rebounding this year, not early on, but further on down 2014.
I do want to move to Texas now, where Texas State Senator Wendy Davis's filibuster of her state's restrictive abortion bill back in June put her on the national map, but she did decide to parlay her newfound prominence into a bid for the governorship in Austin rather than, say, a House or Senate seat in D.C.
She has no shot. You hear a lot about Texas eventually in the coming decades becoming a blue state, and that may very well be. But in the current day, 2013, 2014, somebody like Wendy Davis with her views being on such a polarizing issue on which there are strong, strong sentiments in the pro-life side, there is no, and she has no record to stand on to deflect. Well, if you don't like my stance on the pro-life or abortion issue, here are some other issues to consider in the work I've done. She really doesn't have any record, as Zach mentioned, to campaign on. So I see no reason why a voter, unless you're an ardently pro-choice person, that's the only issue you care about, and her grandstanding that she did with that quote-unquote filibuster that went nowhere, she has no shot, and she has no reason to have a shot.